Deviance from the norm is only tolerated in small doses when you're an Indian woman. Care to microdose with me, stranger? Hello everyone! My name is Kara means spicy. Welcome to my channel. When you're an NRI or a non-resident Indian that was raised outside the motherland, you spend your formative years trying to fit in, you know? You wear baggy clothes to cover up your body fat. You straighten and dye your hair. You wear makeup that was designed for women 10 shades lighter than you. You follow nose contouring tutorials online to look less like Toucan Sam and more like Kate Middleton. So on and so forth. But then, you grow up, and you realize that fitting in is overrated. You spring into adulthood, and you realize that your strength lies in your uniqueness. Diversity is the spice of life, and Kara, after all, does mean spicy. In young adulthood, the tendency is strong to cling on to any wisps of culture that you may have in your life. Reclaiming your roots and undoing years of shame and whitewashing could be as simple as looking in your closet. You wear a lehenga and suddenly you feel like slipping into song and dancing with an actor who's 3 times your age. You put on a bindi, you look in the mirror and you go, fuck! How did I go from this to not being able to form one coherent sentence in my native language? What happened to me? Wearing pretty Indian clothes doesn't instantaneously make you more cultured, but it's a start. And no matter who you are, everybody loves pretty clothes. So is it any wonder that all the Indian girls you know are posting selfies, TikToks, reels, and countless pictures of themselves wearing their best Indian attire? They get to celebrate their heritage and feel beautiful while getting hyped up by the whole world. It's a win-win situation, right? Wrong. Isn't there somebody you forgot to ask? That's right, when you, as an NRI, post your outfits online, all of India has the option to weigh in on your outfit choices. A while ago, I made a video about NRIs and their relationship with Indian fashion, and addressed the allegations that NRIs are tacky, they have no style, they have no taste, they're whitewashed, they have no culture, they don't deserve to be on the planet, etc., so on and so forth. I said that Indian people who grew up outside of the motherland have difficulty making tasteful, trendy outfits due to lack of accessibility, affordability, and awareness of what the trends are. We NRIs thought we were reclaiming the culture, but to mainland Indians, NRIs are bastardizing the culture. NRIs are taking something sacred and misrepresenting and monetizing it. Now, I can see both sides of the argument, you know. I can see how it can seem a little stupid when a girl from New Jersey gets 100,000 likes on Instagram and gets boxes and boxes of free stuff from brands, all because she wore an outfit that looks like it walked off the set of DDLJ. It's okay to be an influencer, but for God's sake, girl, at least look cute while you're doing it. The reception of that video revealed to me that well, first of all, there's a lot more to this topic than what I covered in that video. And secondly, it showed me that it's not just about clothes anymore, it's a discussion of culture and identity through the vehicle of fashion. It's a touchy subject, but if you know me, you know. I love being touchy. This is a part 2 to that video, if you will, so feel free to watch that other video first. I mean, I already kind of summarized it for you, so you're caught up to speed, but your choice. Shortly after I made that video, a fashion designer by the name of Jaita Rohila reached out to me via Instagram and said that she had some thoughts that she'd like to share with me. She has her own clothing brand called Mai, where she upcycles old saris into new articles of clothing while still preserving the beauty and artisanship of the original fabric. Not only is she heavily entrenched in the world of Indian fashion, but she has also spent a good portion of her life living outside of India, so she can speak to the perspective of both a mainland Indian as well as an NRI. I can't think of anyone better to be having this conversation with, so this video will be a discussion between me and Jaita with bits of my invaluable commentary interspersed in between. Enjoy. Yeah, I want to start by just letting you introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Jaita, and I make hoodies and jackets from upcycled saris. They're like 30 to 60-year-old saris that I source from a community in Delhi. What they do is, or what they have done in the past, is they would go house to house and they would exchange these. So, you'd give your old clothes and then they'll give you utensils, let's say, in return. And there's a different charm in these older saris. The way that they're made and the quality that they're constructed with is very fine, and you can really see the difference with what is made right now. So I really like these vintage saris. And then I'm trying to, like, I grew up in Bangladesh, Sweden, China, Nigeria, and then came back to India. And so I thought, like, for the longest, I tried to relate to the traditional wear, but that wasn't really quite me. And so I tried to create this particular kind of clothing which felt more like me, which is why the clothing is called me. And where you identify more of yourself, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I feel like it's really sad when we think that we have to be either one. Why can't we be all of who we are?
I love that. That's such a great mission statement. And, prior to this talk, I remember seeing sometimes your clothes pop up on my feed. I think like another account shared your work sometime, and I thought that is so cool. And it's so innovative the way you just like reform these saris into something like modern, but also traditional at the same time. It's just really incredible what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a wild journey.
So I had a couple questions off to the side, just, so we can converse and discuss. And as a professional fashion designer, of course, I want your opinion on these things. You reached out to me in regards to the NRI fashion video. Everybody had opinions. Like, some people in the comments, when describing me, like, displaying my own closet, they used the word brave, which I thought was kind of funny. They're like, you're very brave for that. I was quite curious, was there something in the video that stood out to you, or was there anything that I said that made you think like, oh, I have so many thoughts on this? Like, what made you want to reach out?
Definitely. I thought you did a really, really good job covering that, because I felt like you didn't just give one perspective or one side of things, but you kind of covered the reasons why too, and when you went into your wardrobe, I was like, wow, she's really getting personal here too. Like, she's because and that's what it kind of takes sometimes, for someone to share their honest opinion of things. When I grew up, I felt like, one, I didn't have the accessibility, right? So I related to the why quite heavily, and I know what it's like when you're really representing yourself, where anywhere else, and when you're not really close rooted. And then I know the difference of when I came back to India and having to work my way around the Indian ecosystem and social system here. And it was so different than what I thought it would be. So I just felt like I really want to reach out, and I want to share my opinion too, because it felt very close to home, and something that I feel is kind of like a touchy topic too, and not a lot of people want to probably get into it, or if they do, then it'll be behind the screen, not really being upfront and putting yourself out there with it too. And I felt like, I think it's, having been both, I feel like I have a lot to say on that too. Yeah.
You mentioned that you grew up in all these various countries. I think you said China was one of them. When you had certain festivals or functions that you wanted to wear Indian clothes for, your family was saying, okay, we need to dress more traditional for this, where would you get the clothes from?
Yeah, my mom's clothes. I had no accessibility. So when I was in China, I was in Shanghai. I had not seen any Indian store over there. When I was in Sweden, I was in a very small town in Sweden. I was the only brown girl around. And so I really did not know any other place. There was one Afghani shop in 3 towns away. And so that was the only, space that I knew which had anything close to my culture.
And that's already like a completely different world than what Indians dress up as, so.
Yes, and we would come back to India once a year, so that was a privilege, because we got to, and honestly, that's where we did most of our shopping. We barely shopped anywhere else. We would come back, do a lot of shopping, and, take everything back with us.
How would you define your personal style?
Ooh, I think my personal style is grandma mixed with, no, seriously, I love grandma style. I think my personal style is grandma mixed with a little bit of funk and a little bit of I think grandma mixed with funk. That's how I'd really describe my style, my personal style.
I love that. Funky grandma.
Yes, funky grandma.
That's a vibe. Okay, my next thing that I wanted to talk about, I don't really know how to phrase this, but I'm gonna try my best because I don't want to offend people. That's another thing. I tried to be as respectful as possible in that video, but like, I could feel like a lot of people were getting offended or angry with me.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's anything that you can say which will not offend people. I think people get offended very, very quickly, and it's okay that they have their opinion. I think just because you're voicing yours, they're also entitled to voice theirs. And I think you can just like leave it at that. You know, one doesn't have to get in with the back and forth when it's just pointless. It's just two different perspectives. That's all it is.
Right. And, you know, we were discussing this on Instagram, but like, I mean, I was getting comment after comment after comment of people telling me exactly what they thought of every single outfit. They're like, outfit 1, hate it. Outfit 2, something my grandmother would wear. Like, I was like, oh my God. You know, it's just, that's why I was kind of hesitant to do a follow-up video. But I mean, clearly there are some people like you, obviously, that understood exactly what I was saying and like have so much to say on this topic as well. So it's personal.
It really is. It really is. I was talking to some people around here too, and I was telling them, "Oh, you know, I'm planning to do this little talk today," and I was telling them about you as well, and they were like, and then the moment I said it's about NRI, you know, tacky. All it took was NRI tacky fashion, and they were just like, "Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that is so true. I've been thinking this too." So people here do really feel that.
So it's like a thing. I'm assuming your people are all like fashion, very fashion conscious as well. So, okay.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And even the ones who are not super fashion conscious, they do tend to feel this. And I see where they're coming from. I do, not having lived here for 17 years, I see where they're coming from. You know, for them, I think culture is very different here. People buy things every season, like, you know, and when you have accessibility, you can just go to the boutique right on the corner. There's so much you find online. I mean, ethnic wear is its own category altogether. Festive time, you get like 50% off, this, that, like so many things happening. It's the great Indian festival on Amazon, you know? So people are very, very into buying the new clothes, and that you have to wear a new piece on Diwali or on Eid or on, you know, so everybody has their certain festivals. And so I get where they're coming from. But what I am not okay with is not accepting or even wanting to listen or understand to the other person's perspective of where they're coming from. I get like, just because you have the privilege of buying from wherever, you can't dismiss somebody else's fashion because of that.
It's been 9 months since I filmed this interview with Jaita, and I had forgotten just how much the comments on that initial fashion video had affected me. I mean, I can't even get mad at the people who are roasting my outfits because I literally put "roast my closet" in the title of the video. It was as if I put a kick me sign on my back and bent over in front of all of you, and let's just say I now have hemorrhoids. But the critical comments were extending beyond just NRI fashion. They were criticizing NRIs themselves. I was getting comments like, "Ugh, I hate NRIs. They're all assholes. My cousins are NRIs, and every time they visit, they're so rude. They act like they're all high and mighty and blah, blah, blah." And I'm thinking to myself, what does this have to do with the video? Look, I'm sorry that your NRI cousins are assholes, but I'm not your cousin. Look, I myself have several cousins that live in India, as well as a handful of cousins that live in the US, and I would say we get along pretty well. Like, honestly, I would say we don't really have a bad apple. Now, I know what you're gonna say next. Gara, if you say that you don't have an asshole cousin, that means you are the asshole cousin. Hey, somebody's gotta do it. Heavy is the head that bears the crown. Or should I say, heavy is the ass that bears the whole. So, on that topic, you said every festival deserves a new outfit. So, what generally happens to that outfit 2, 3, 4 years down the line?
It's just in your closet and you have a whole stack of them, and that's how it is. Like, people really stock up on these, and or otherwise what they do is they'll hand it over to somebody else in the family, or they'll hand it over to, you know, the person who's cleaning in the place, and just be like, okay, you can have this now, you know, like, I'm not going to be wearing this again.
A lot of the people in that video were, you know, and if they think my outfits are ugly, you know, that's fine. Everyone, like you said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But one word that people were constantly using was wrong. You're wearing this wrong. This outfit is all wrong. You know, these outfits are meant for bed sheets and not for an outfit, you know? So what I just don't understand is, like, how can it be wrong? You know, like, it's fashion. It's entirely a personal choice. So yeah, I guess my question is, what am I missing here? You know, do you think that Indian fashion has the room for individuality and personal expression?
Ooh. I'm wondering how to phrase this.
Yeah. It's hard, huh?
It is hard. In India, people want to fit in. There is no standing out. So I barely sell in India. So I've done a lot of flea markets, a lot of pop-ups, a lot of exhibitions, a lot of putting my clothes in different stores. And the difficulty people have with the clothing is, where do I wear this and how do I wear this? Because something that kind of fits in the box with, if it's festive time, it has to be lehenga, choli, sari, or a salwar suit, you know? It doesn't go beyond that. Even if it may have a festive vibe, but that's not okay. Other than Christmas. Christmas, sure. But if it's like a festive time, or even weddings, you know, for that matter, like, people have to go very traditional for that time. And so traditions, you don't mess with them. You stick to that, and that's it. And, you know, people aren't really curious to, like, if somebody else wears something, like, there's this one person who came in specific to my studio, and she was like, I have to wear this because everybody's so stuck with wearing the usual. I'm looking for something else because I don't identify with that. So there are very, very, very few people who'd be willing to go out of the box, because otherwise your entire family is going to be like, no, we have to be in sync. And also, this is the time when people can pull out that sexy blouse, where you're not allowed to wear that sexy blouse any other time, but this is the only time where it's okay. So I think Indian system and the ecosystem here, it is difficult to stand out, because you get pointed out quite a lot. If you get pointed out for you're pretty, that's amazing. But if you get pointed out for, what is she wearing? That's not. And I wear my clothes to a lot of the festive spaces, and they're like, oh, it suits you.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't pull it off. I can't. No, but it's okay. On you, it looks nice.
That's a backhanded compliment right there.
Yep.
So, would you say there's a lot of people who dress alternative in bigger cities? Like, you live in Delhi, so do you see a lot of alternative, goth, punk? Is there something that stands out in your mind, like the most alternative looking person you've seen in the city?
I haven't really seen too many alternative looking, because I think the alternative would be the hipster vibe over here, you know? And those you'd see more like the ones who really have kind of, you know, they don't really care about what the society thinks of them. And so they're going to be in their baggy or their, you know, super skinny or whatever, however they want to, you know, define them. So they are going to be, they're not going to be following the norm, the usual jeans and t-shirt. And whenever you do talk to them, there's always a chance of them having explored a lot of different places and, you know, being here. So it's I think when you have a lot of exposure is when you are open to a lot more things too.
So I feel very privileged that you made the time to talk to me today. So that being said, you can be completely honest with me. What were your opinions of the looks in the video, and what would be your advice to me on how to step up my fashion?
Oh, I don't like, I personally don't feel like, oh, this is what you should have done, or that is what, because this is who you are. And if you don't express it the way that you want, then you're not complete and you're not comfortable with it. So I always feel like comfort above anything else. And that's what, like, brings in the fashion. And then you play around with everything else around you. So I honestly would not add anything to it. I think I love the way that you've put yourself out there. I don't understand why people would either hide or want to fit in so bad that they are making themselves feel uncomfortable. I find that sad, honestly. So I felt like what you were doing is amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Okay, so in the follow-up video, if I dress like absolutely bananas, nuts, crazy, I'm blaming you, okay?
Please do. You really can.
I'm not quite sure why I pushed off posting this interview on my YouTube channel for so long. Maybe it's because my insecurity is on full display here. Like, perhaps I also pushed off posting this video because I just didn't really know what to say. I didn't know how to make a part 2 to the NRI fashion discussion. I mean, the consensus from the comments was that my wardrobe needed a complete revamp, like I needed to buy completely brand new clothes, but somehow spending a ton of money to buy an entirely new set of Indian clothes for my wardrobe just to appease some strangers on the internet didn't sit right with me. It also didn't sit right with my wallet. And also, if I had a 1-hour-long conversation with a professional Indian upcycler and my only takeaway was I need to buy more new Indian clothes, I clearly was not paying attention. And this isn't about pleasing other people. This is about your personal style and how to use that to best showcase your identity. And you don't need new clothes every single season to do that. To NRIs, Indian clothes are just one mini battle you have to fight in the long road to the final boss battle of xenophobia. Especially in this day and age, if you live in the US, they want you to assimilate. They want you to be American. They want you to deny your roots. They want you to be like, hey, I might be Indian, but I'm not one of those Indians, I'm not a clueless scammer, all right? I don't eat with my hands. I'm one of the good ones. It is important now, more than ever, to dig your heels into the soil and reclaim your culture.
As the South Asian diaspora, I think, is really 4 or 5 years ago, started stepping into their own culture, into their own space, into their own tradition, into their own, selves. And people are very, very open to judgments here. And I feel like, which is also why they're so scared of trying something new, because it feels that they know that they will get judged because they judge themselves too, so and it's not easy out here. I mean, we always think that the grass is greener on the other side, but it's really it's not easy out here in terms of how one wants to go about dressing up. When I decided to come back to India because I wanted to do my college here, I wanted to study fashion here, which was another controversial thought I felt, because people were like, no, but we go to Parsons, we go to here, we go to, we go elsewhere to study fashion. And I'm like, but it's made here. Everything is made here. This is where the choreographers are. This is where the craft is. This is where the art is. This is where the material is as well. I just found that entire concept very funny. And so when I came back here, I went to college and I was the weird one out, always. But I took pride in that, because there's no point in feeling like people are judging me. I just feel like at the end, but I think that for me, it comes also from a fashion perspective, where if they won't look, how would they notice? If they don't notice, how would they remember? One day in college, I just shaved my head and I went to, and I went to college, and my friend, like, I heard while I'm walking, I heard people going, oh, I think her boyfriend broke up with her. That's why, oh, I think da 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 da. But in the same day, I had another person who's a photographer from the fashion communication going, can I click you? I think this is so, I love the look. And I did a photo shoot that day. I go to my pattern making teacher and she's just like, this is your best haircut because I can see your face a lot clearer. Like, this is who I think you really are. So, you will get people throwing their, because these are all projections at the end of the day. This is how they feel, and so they're putting that out. It has nothing to do with me. And I think when you realize that, you walk different in life.
So, like, did people kind of treat you differently when they found out that you've lived all these different places, and they're like, "Oh, she's an international girl," you know? Like, did they treat you differently?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And it would start off with calling me a firang, which is like a white person.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah. And these are like my closest friends, right? Because here, also it's a Delhi thing too. Like this is what I felt like. Delhi bonds over hating Delhi. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, because Delhi is a very different kind of a city. It's not for the weak. Delhi is a very ruthless kind of a city, and I find charm in it. Because if you look at Bombay, like Bombay has core Maharashtrians. That's who made the city, and they're still there. Delhi is a mix of UP, Punjab, Haryana coming together and trying to place themselves and stay here. And so there's always going to be there's a hustle. There's a very different hustle in Delhi. And so I felt more of an outsider when I came back to India. I think it was the toughest to move here because I didn't expect not to fit in here. When I came back, I was called the Chinese girl half the time too. They can tell when, like, I thought my Hindi was good, but I was told how not good my Hindi is when I started speaking to people, because they could tell just one word and they're like, "Yep, she's not from here." And you get treated different in that sense. And I don't mean different in a bad way. You get treated really nice. Like, I feel like in general, people really take care of you. Like, I think people are so nice, warm, and welcoming. So there is that side too. It's just that when you get into the core of things, there are people who really like, at parties, at certain situations, there is the tension, and people really live in bubbles here. But I feel like honestly that's everywhere too, right? Like, people live in their own bubbles, and people live within their own kind. But I see myself staying here. I love it in Delhi. I think the hustle and the figure it out kind of system really works for me here. From when I see the perspective here, it's that we have evolved so much, but we are still held with the same picture of what India used to be. So I think that's where the anger or the upset or the irritation comes from. So that's what I meant by I understand where it's coming from their side too, because they're like, "Come here, see, it's not like it used to be." And it really isn't, which is why, like, I think moving back here was also a very different culture shock for me, really. I thought India is going to be where you don't have a boyfriend, you don't like go talking to, you don't wear short skirts, you don't wear cute tops, you don't walk like that, you don't talk like that, because my parents had told me so. "Oh no, you're an Indian girl, you don't go out and do this, you're an Indian girl, you don't." And so that's what I learned what India was all about. And when I came back here, I saw it as a very, very different culture altogether. I mean, this is just a very small perspective or a very small thing that I've just discussed here. In so many ways, India is so different, so evolved. I find it funny because I feel like, honestly, we call it the third world, but there is a chunk of India which is living in the first world. There is a chunk of India which is living in I would say, a second world. And yes, there is a chunk of India living in the third world, but you can't put everything together as just the third world. And I think what they're sick of is the narrative of what people think India is. So now, like what they say with the colors, for example, when they look at an NRI wearing particular colors, they feel upset because we are not about the loud colors anymore. We're in our pastel era, and we've been in our pastel era for a while now. It might be silver with a pastel. It might be some bling with the pastel. Here, bling is considered tacky. And hair bling is considered like, like there is because people are aware of the kind of works there are. There's not just one kind of embroidery. There's so many kinds, and people are very well aware of all the differences. They know how fabric is made. They know how, what quality, what fabric. People touch, feel. They go to the boutiques. They decide what fabric they want for their suit. They know what's going to work for them, and so they just feel very like we are not 2000s. The thing that I have an issue with is calling it tacky. Like, that's not okay for you to do, but I get where they're coming from. I understand that they want to be represented for who they are now and not what they used to be back then. Because then they feel like you don't see our evolution. You don't see how much we've grown. You don't see where we're at right now. And that this is like the economy to look, out for. And that we're going so many places, but we don't get acknowledged for that. I feel like we're also not the kind of people who are going to, talk a lot about ourselves. So we kind of expect that the people around the world would represent the current India.
That's actually such a good point. That reminded me of something else. That's another thing that a lot of people were pointing out to me in the comments. They were saying stuff like, if you're an Indian person living abroad, you might be someone's only window into Indian culture. So especially if you have any sort of media presence at all. So you have a responsibility to showcase stylish, trendy, modern Indian clothes. Do you agree with that?
I think, like it or not, that is, yeah. Because I felt like that when I was growing up. Even if I wasn't, somehow morally, that's what I felt I was doing, regardless of just because I was the only Indian person around, or I was like one of the few. So I think the moment you are the minority in a big space, you tend to, like, people will look at you and judge with what that culture is all about. At least in Bridgerton, at least in, Never Have I Ever, at least in the TV shows and the influencers who are like the top influencers, at least you guys should represent who, where and what India is today, because that's how the rest of the world is also looking. And that's how we need to project our best selves. Otherwise, if we're still stuck on the past, then how will we keep, growing, and how will people know that we've grown?
That's a very good point.
But the thing is, it's not easy to understand where India's at when you've not really traveled or explored this place. So that's there. But then the thing is, you still don't have the accessibility to go out and wear those things. So that's a little tricky to figure out, like, yeah, but I don't have it. I don't even have it anywhere close to me or affordable. That's like a second point. First, it's not even, the availability isn't really there. So that's the tricky part.
Right. And I know it's definitely a privilege to also be able to go back to the homeland every few years or so.
It's like somebody in India trying to understand what somebody somewhere else, sitting somewhere else would feel like. Like, I don't think that person will be able to represent, if you take anybody away from the roots, it's not easy to remember exactly how things are and keep up with everything that is going on there. And fashion moves. So, it's not like it'll stay like this for a while. So, honestly, though, I feel like it's majorly about, it's two things: color and the bling to it. That's the moment those two, and like here, I feel like people have started appreciating the muted sense of things. And by people, I mean those 8% who are into fashion. I don't mean the rest of I feel like India as a country, we run on a very, very different tangent than what the fashion community in India runs at. Where the majority still is into their own culture, and they still would wear the same colors. Like, if you look at colors in Bihar, they're super loud and super blingy. And like, I have a collection named just after that kind of fabric, and I call it the Ladki Walas. It's super bright with a lot of sequences on, and that's because that's the culture there. But that being said, because that's how it's happening here, doesn't mean that that's how it needs to happen everywhere else. I think that we do need to kind of relax a bit. It's not the end of the world. It's just clothes at the end of the day. Um, and you can't just go around pinpointing and thinking that someone's a certain kind just because of what they're wearing. There is going to be that expectation of, oh, but you have to represent.
Now, I have to say, this is where I differ from Jaita just a little bit. She would say that NRIs should make an attempt to keep up with Indian fashion, or at least be aware of what the current trends are. She is, after all, a fashion designer, so I'm sure it would make her heart sing to see Indian fashionistas all over the world. But I mean, in this economy? Yeah, it's significantly harder to keep up with something from halfway across the world, but, you know, nothing that's worth it will ever come easy.
And you stay at it, honestly. People are gonna comment. That's you honestly, I feel like that's when you know you're doing something. You're doing something right. I'm saying because I had one video that went viral and people went bonkers. Like it was I got so much hate for the clothing. I got so much hate for like this is not India. This is so 19 something something. This is not how who would wear this? Why would you even need this? What is the point of making something? People are going crazy in the name of fashion. Like there were a lot of comments to the point where this designer should die. I was like, okay then. I feel like let it come and let it out. Like you don't let it stick to you. You know what I'm really amazed by is that you're like, okay, so how do I learn from this? What is that what is it that I could do? And I think that's amazing. I think a lot of times when people throw things at you, the first thing is defensive and just, no, I'm not going to hear this. This is just, they are wrong. They are blah, 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 blah. But I think for you to be open to listen to this, I think it just shows how open you are to growing. I think that's really commendable.
I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Jaita, not just for her time and her invaluable commentary, but also for her words of encouragement. She did everything short of taking my hand and going, shh, shh, it's okay, baby girl, it's okay. You wear those cheetah print pants. You wear the shit out of those cheetah print pants. We've heard my thoughts. We've heard Jaita's thoughts. Now let's hear yours. The first video mainly focused on the literal clothes and the trends and all that stuff, but I want this video to focus more on what Indian clothing does for you. When do you wear it, and how do you feel when you wear it? What does it mean to you? Do you wear Indian clothes often, or do you just not wear them at all and you don't know where to start? Let's hear it. Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out Jaita's shop as well as her social media. Feel free to check out my Instagram for all of my daily deranged thoughts and my embroidery art. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you in the next one. But first, can I get a moment of appreciation for my outfit? So I kind of dug through my closet to see if I could piece together something that's very much my taste and also very much against the rules of what I should be doing, you know, like no animal print, no neons, no pastels, they don't look good on your skin color. So yeah, drop a hell yeah in the comments if you support the outfit, and if you don't, I don't give a fuck. All right, bye for now.